Okay. Good morning. We recognize the good morning. We recognize the president of BARP, the trust members, the chairperson for the education committee. My name is Glenroy Kamabach. I am a BARP member and a volunteer on the education committee. I will be serving as your moderator this morning. The activity today is organized by the education committee and endorsed by the trust. You will be hearing a presentation from David Gittins on this very timely and important topic. The majority of the time today will be taken with the presentation, your questions and your comments. Before we get there, let's take a few minutes to go through the formalities. I will begin with the opening remarks from Reverend Clayton Springer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and good morning to everybody. It is always a joy to meet with persons of like mind when we are doing something positive as we are this morning. We want to welcome you to the church, first of all, and to indicate that this morning's presentation is one that is really designed to educate and inform and inspire all of us, irrespective of the platform that we may be on. And we thank God that today has happened finally. We, from the Charitable Trust, we are very much involved in reaching into the community, particularly of elderly persons, those who may have some needs that they have difficulty in responding to on their own. And particularly when it comes to house repairs and medical situations, we have a preponderance of persons with those challenges. And the trust, by its very mandate, wishes to respond to as many of those situations as possible. But obviously, as a charity, we are constrained by funding. And this is where you, the public, come in. We have depended on the public's purse for quite a number of years of our existence. And this continues to be the reality. And therefore today, while you hear all of the things that we're going to be saying about cybersecurity, we would also wish you to embrace not just the concept, but the reality of it helping us to help our elderly persons across this fair land. And therefore, right here at the church, at the entry, we have some donation boxes, and we will likely place one at each of the exits so that when you go out, you are reminded that you will want to leave something tangible and colorful so that we can make a bigger dent into the list of persons who apply to us for assistance. Of course, we also from the trust are engaged in education and the provision of scholarships to persons who are pursuing areas of gerontology, which are very germane to the whole question of aging. And therefore, we look forward to your support. I think it's also important as we proceed on today's journey to just thank God for bringing us and give him that bit of gratitude that we know flows. So let's just bow our heads where we are and give God some thanks as we depend on him for everything. Father and God, we bless you this morning. We thank you for sending your son Jesus to guide us in the paths of righteousness. And we pray, Lord, that as we come today to do this part of your vineyard's business, that everything would go smoothly without any interruptions. We pray that the technology would work well and that everyone who listens will be challenged to be a committed giver of themselves to you firstly, and then to your service. We thank you for all that shall be said by our main presenter, the persons who will be responding with questions and comments. We thank you for this inspiring day. And we give you thanks in Jesus' name, amen and amen. May God bless you as you continue to follow with us down through this journey of this morning. And I turn right back to our moderator.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you, Clayton. Maybe Clayton is feeling the same way that I do, because we have our teacher, C.Q. Williams, here with us this morning. So we may be scored as we conduct our business. The speaker this morning is Mr. David Giddens, MSc, CISSP, CISA, CISM, CCSP, AMBCI, CDPSE, CRISC, CEH, HISP, CCSK, CHFI. Our presenter this morning, Mr. David Giddens, has several letters behind his name, all focusing on security. Mr. Giddens is a cybersecurity consultant who has specialized in security, project management, and information systems. The founding president of the Information Systems Security Association, the Barbados chapter. A respected gentleman who has headed the Anti-Fraud Committee of the Barbados Banks Association. A member of the various boards and committees dealing with information security, a promoter of cybersecurity and data privacy, a Christian who loves the Lord, a proud father of 4 and loving husband to 1, a provider of security expertise to organizations here in Barbados and across the Caribbean. We are honored that this cybersecurity consultant is here this morning to share this expertise with us. Let us welcome Mr. David Giddens to share how we can surf safely through the internet.
Good morning, all. Thank you for taking the time to come out, and thank you for those very kind words, Leroy. It's indeed a pleasure to be here for a number of reasons. The last time I was in this church was many, many years ago, but it was a very momentous occasion. That was the time where I had my first real encounter with God, and I knew God was real, right in this church. So I'm glad to be here. The second reason is I'm a member of a local security association, Information Systems Security Association. And we have been trying for a while to get onto BARP to do exactly this. And today we're actually doing it. Because cybersecurity is very important. And unfortunately, people like to target the elderly because they figure they're not as au fait with a lot of the technology, so people target the elderly specifically. So I'm really glad to be doing this presentation for BARP. So let's jump right into it. The presentation is called Cybersecurity Surfing Through the Internet. And the internet is basically like the ocean. It's big, it's beautiful, it has a lot of amazing things in it, but you need to know how to use it safely. You don't let anybody just jump in the sea and do it. There's certain things you can do, and once you do those things, you can really enjoy our oceans, and it's very much the same with the internet. So today I'm going to start off just telling you what cybersecurity is. We're going to touch on what cybercrime is. We're going to look at scams. Then I'm going to teach you how to protect yourself from these things. And then we're going to look at online banking, and online shopping, which is a lot more relevant today in the COVID era. Next slide, please. So this is me. Blair Rice said everything, but me, I don't think we need to say anything more. Next slide, please. So the aim of the presentation is basically to make sure that we can operate the internet and operate it safely. So by the end of the presentation, I would have given you enough tips that hopefully would allow you to be comfortable and safe for dealing with the internet. Now you need to understand that no one can give an absolute guarantee that you will not get hacked. Nobody's that good. The internet is, there are just too many ways that people can do things. So I'm not going to tell you at the end of this presentation, no one will ever get your system. No one can make that claim. What I can tell you is that you'd be a lot more prepared to use the internet safely. So just a little disclaimer, I've done some presentations at the end. People told me they wanted to throw away their phones. I don't want it happening today. So we're going to touch on things that may seem frightening, but we have to be practical. Most of these things, the chances of them happening are very slim, right? So don't think because this thing has happened or it can't happen that every time you go on the computer it'll happen. The idea isn't to scare anyone, but rather to make you aware of the danger so that you can use the internet responsibly and comfortably. Now, some basic things. Everyone here should know that a tablet isn't just a swallow. They should know a desktop isn't only furniture. A laptop isn't just where, you know, a grandchild sits on a grandparent. And viruses, not just I deal with medicine. Malware is not about wearing clothes that look bad. And phishing ain't got nothing to do with fish, right? In the technology world, we tend to steal words from the real world and make it part. So we end up with a lot of confusing terms. All right, so basically you don't need to be any sort of expert. You don't need a degree. You don't need to have studied computer science to use the internet safely. That's basically what I want you to understand. Once you know very basic things, you can use the internet. Now, what is a computer? This question is harder than it was years ago because there's so many different types today. You know, a computer is basically something that has a processor, it can run programs, and you can interact with it. We know the traditional computers, you have a screen, you have a keyboard, whatever. But there are a lot of other things like there's smartphones, they're the big computers. There's some children games or computers, even toys, they're little dollies that have the thing, they actually qualify as a computer. Your refrigerator, smart TVs, fridges, all those things today have computers in it. The ATMs that we use, those have computers. Even modern motor cars have computers. So computers are basically everywhere. So what is the internet? The internet is basically a network where computers from all over, all types of computers can connect to it. So your phone can connect to the internet, your laptop, your watch, as I said, your refrigerator, your TV, everything can connect to the internet. So it doesn't really matter what type of system you're using. All systems today are designed so that you can connect to the internet. That's just how you build systems today. And the things on the internet that we'd be familiar with that we actually use would be things like social media, you know, Facebook and Instagram and other things that people use. Email, which we use for business and as well as personal. And then you have instant messaging, things like WhatsApp and Signal. So that is what the internet is. We all interact with it, even if you're not aware. All right, next slide, please. So how do we connect to the internet? You basically have a device called an internet router. You may not know where it is, may not see it. There's one in here somewhere, and some type of computer, and that's it. So when you take out your phone, you're not studying where the devices are that you're connecting to. You know you have internet. Somewhere there's an internet router somewhere, and you connect to the internet. So it's seamless, right? We just go onto the internet. Next slide, please. So I just want to explain what is that I do, which is cybersecurity. A lot of people are not familiar with that field. Actually, President Obama coined the term cybersecurity before he called it information security. Then he started talking about cybersecurity. But it is basically keeping information safe. And they normally focus on electronic information, but it's also physical information, information on videotapes, information in written books or whatever. And cybersecurity is just about protecting information. That's all it is. Next slide, please. Right, so cybersecurity is basically, this is my definition, it's the art and science of keeping data safe. Because there are parts of it and there's scientific parts of it. Some things you do just by your gut feeling, just by observation, and some things you use strictly theory and technical methods. And security is divided into three areas. There's the confidentiality aspect, which means data is confidential. Nobody should know your data that you have in your bank account. Nobody should know your passport data, whatever. That's confidentiality. Integrity now, integrity deals with data should not be modified. So if your bank account has $21,000, when you look at it, it shouldn't say $20,000. Integrity means you do not change the information. You protect that information from being modified. And the last aspect is what we call availability. Availability means that when it should be there, you can get it. So when you go to the ATM and you stick in your card, it should tell you how much money you have. Right? Availability, the data should be available when it's supposed to be available. Right? So those are the three aspects. Now, what do we as cybersecurity professionals do? We protect data and we do it by focusing on three particular areas. We focus on, first of all, the people aspect, in that we train people how to use systems, how to use computers. We tell them what to do, like what I'm doing today. We educate them. We monitor what they're doing because some people don't like to follow the rules. And if needed, you motivate them to do the right thing. And if they don't, you may even need to discipline them. So dealing with people is one of the key aspects how we deal with cybersecurity. The other aspect is processes, where we look at how things are done. And this is the rules. You set up rules, you set up standards, you set up guidelines, frameworks. So you tell people, this is how you can deal with the data. This is what you're allowed to do when you're at work. This is what you should do when you go to the ATM. These are things not to do. So as cybersecurity professionals, we look at the processes in place, we recommend processes, we modify processes, but we make sure that things are in place so people are basically doing what is safe, people are doing what is right. And then the last aspect is technology. And this is what people like to deal with because they get this is the sexy aspect where you put hardware and software in place to try to protect things. A lot of people just focus on the technology and don't look at the people, but often people are the most critical aspect. If people don't know what to do or people are not governed properly, they'll try things, especially if money is involved. So these are the three things that cybersecurity professionals do. We tell you how to deal with the people, we tell you what to do in terms of processes, and we tell you what to do in terms of technology. Now, cybercrime, the BARP definition of cybercrime is basically using a computer or attacking the computer, using the computer to do something wrong. Using the computer to maybe say, send threatening emails, using the computer to trick somebody that they've won the lottery and they need to send $200 to you first, using the computer, say for revenge porn, you know, a man and a woman, they break up, so he sends dirty pictures to embarrass her. So what you're using the computer to do mischief is cybercrime. Or if you're doing something to a computer, like you get vexed with your bank and you mash up the ATM, or you're annoyed with your boss and you go and you damage the computer systems, you delete stuff from it. All those things are under the laws of Barbados are cybercrime. So cybersecurity professionals try to fight against the cyber criminals. And when we're fortunate, we even get a few in a lockup. but that is what cybercrime is. Now, cybercrime, unfortunately, is very easy, and for a lot of reasons. Firstly, there are a lot of profiles on social media, which are fake. Sometimes somebody sends you a friend request, and it's not a real person, or it's not who they say they are. They say, I'm a 25-year-old woman, but it's really a 60-year-old man. So there are a lot of fake things on social media. Next thing, your devices like your phone will have the camera, your TV, your laptops, and cyber criminals can actually use software to turn on the camera, your microphone, and spy on you. Which is one reason I tell people, don't take your phone into your bathroom. People can actually turn on the camera or turn on your microphone. So by doing that, they can get information about you, right? So you need to be careful about that. Another thing is you can put up a fake website. A website is very easy to copy. Like say you like using Amazon.com, somebody can create something that looks identical to Amazon.com, trick you to go in there. Amazon tells you, well, what you think is Amazon tells you, well, just enter your credentials to buy this thing. And you think it's going to Amazon, but the information is really going to a hacker somewhere. So it's easy to put these fake things. And people can also pretend a lot on the internet. Some of the other things that you can do, malware, which is software that will do something malicious, that can be used to steal your username and your password, in addition to some other things. It can be used to track people. Like if you have an Android phone and other phones, hackers can actually see everywhere your phone goes. And the assumption is where your phone went, you went. So you can track people by the internet. Another thing which people don't realize is that there's no such thing as having something private on the internet. Once you post something on social media, put it on email, it's several places on the internet, and it can't vanish. You can go later and delete something that you put up, but it's stored somewhere, guaranteed. Someone has it, and someone can come back for it later. So once you put it on the internet, it is there, right? Someone somewhere who has enough technical skills can actually get hold of it. Another thing is emails. People don't realize that emails are totally unsafe. The ordinary emails. When they go and they send an email, say using Gmail or CaribSurf, that is going to store on one server, then another server, then another server, and it's going to end up several places of the internet. And the people in these companies and sometimes even governments have access to them. So basically, when you send an ordinary email, there's no guarantee who will actually see it. That may come back to haunt you 5 or 10 years later. Or someone may use information in that email to do you harm. Especially if you send an email, say it has all your banking details, credit card information. Say you scan your signature and you send it in an email. The criminal's looking for that information and they can store that. Another thing is that when you're actually signing into something by your username and password, or unless you use what you call multi-factor authentication, which is something we'll go into later, there are ways that people can actually steal your login credentials and later log in and pretend to be you. So that is something that can happen. And with the emails, as I said, ordinary emails are not that safe. And people can actually set up their computer to get a copy of all your emails. So sometimes someone is reading your emails for months, so you haven't a clue. Your email is still working. You can still use it, but you don't know everything that you get, someone else is getting. I heard a story a few years ago of a company in Trinidad. They were being acquired by another company, and the acquiring company, their email was hacked. And the hackers were pretending to be the buyers and extracting information from the company that was being bought. Because obviously someone is buying you, you gotta listen to them. You know, like we would have heard the thing with Elon Musk, he wants to buy Twitter and he say, he want this, he want that, he want that. And they have to try to give it to him. So this happened in the case of the people. They're thinking that this is my buyer sending this email asking for information, but it was a criminal. So these are some of the reasons why cybercrime is easy, because there are a lot of tools and techniques that cyber criminals and certain governments have access to, which makes it easy for them to spy on you basically, or do things they shouldn't do. Now, deepfakes is a special sort of relatively new technology that allows you to impersonate things. There's an example here, Star Wars, a Star Wars that was made about a year ago. They put what looked like Princess Leia in the movie. Now, the real Princess Leia is in her 60s. They put someone looking in her 20s or 30s using this technology deepfake. Now, if you look there, you see Princess Leia. That's who you see. It's really an actress that looks totally different, but using deepfake technology, they make her look like Princess Leia, walk like Princess Leia, talk like Princess Leia. So it's almost as if the Princess Leia from 20, 30 years ago played in the movie, and she didn't. And so this technology allows someone to give you a video and you see somebody doing something and it's not them. You may receive a phone call and it sounds like you're a financial controller, but it is not him. They're using this technology that can impersonate video, impersonate audio, and trick you. Fortunately, the technology is still relatively expensive. So it's not like youngsters gonna be able to use it, but the government could. They even used it in the Ukraine war recently, where they created a fake video of President Zelensky saying, "Oh, I want my soldiers to give up." So someone, probably the Russians, would have created this video and put it out as a news piece, making it seem that Zelensky said those words, and Zelensky never said those words. So these are some of the reasons why, cybercrime is possible, especially for large, powerful organizations with millions of dollars. All right. Now, phishing. We would have all heard of phishing, and as I said, how do I do with fish? Phishing is about tricking you, making you take the bait with something. It's normally done by emails. You get an email saying, "Congratulations, you are the 10,000th person and you've won a Samsung S22. It's a trick. They say to receive information, click on this link. Look at this document. It's a trick. They want to get information from you. So phishing is all about somebody giving you bait, so you take it, and you give information that they want, that they can then use to do something else. You can also have it with websites. Put up a fake website, pretending to do something, and you go and you do it, and they get the information. So basically with phishing, the thing is, when you get these strange emails, when you find that you've won a lottery that you never entered, don't click on a link. Don't click on anything in the email. Don't open anything in the email, because it's a trick. Now we want to give you some steps in how we spot phishing emails. There's certain things which are done, which, excuse me a minute. Certain things which are done, which we can do to capture these emails. One thing to look for is fake company logos. They try to copy company logos, but they can't necessarily always get it right. So always examine the logo, like, is that really the FedEx logo? Is it really the Royal Bank of Canada logo, the Scotiabank logo? Look at the logo. Next thing is they always make it urgent. If you don't click this now, we're gonna close your account. If you don't click this now, we're gonna call the police. And if you don't do this thing now, this body's gonna get arrested. They always create a sense of urgency so that you don't think. They don't want you to go and run it by a friend. They don't want you to sit down and warn them. They want you to be so scared. We have to act now. And they want you to act. So it's all that sense of urgency. Next thing is they normally don't have any name at the bottom of the email. You get an email, it claims to be from your bank, but it doesn't have a name, or it has a name that you've never heard of. So be careful of that part. Or sometimes the person is supposed to be your bank, supposed to be your doctor, but they partly don't know you. They address you as their recipient, their customer. Now, if my doctor doesn't know my name, I'm very scared. You know, if my bank is sending me a professional piece of correspondence and they don't address me by my name, I'm gonna worry. So that's something I need to look at. Or then from the content of the email, you realize they don't have pertinent information. They say, this is your bank, you know, we would like you to tell us your account number. If you're my bank, you know my account number. So as soon as you see those are stupid questions, they ask you obvious things. You know, that's something to watch for. Another thing that you find with phishing emails is they always want you to click on the link for further information. Or there's a FedEx package for you. Click on this to get details. If you can tell me that you have a package from me, you can tell me what the package is. I don't have to open another document. You know, so as soon as you see this thing, they want you to click on something, want you to download, think phishing. And once you think phishing, go through the thing very carefully. And if anything, ignore the email, delete the email, but don't let people rush you into doing these things. Right. Next screen. Now you want to go into the area of scams. Next screen, please. Now, scams. Anyone could tell me how a scam is like a fish cake? A scam is very much like a fish cake. Because scams are like fish cakes are very tempting. Nobody tries to offer you a little bit. They offer you one money. You know, I'm a Nigerian prince, they need to get the money out. You know, so they always have that. So then they offer you something like, love, I'm in love with you. I'm gonna fly to Barbados and marry you. I really love you. You know, or if you do this deal, I'll give you 10%. So scams are always tempting. Next thing, they always promise a lot, but the only way to know if it is true is if you go through with it. So now you go and you buy a fish cake from the vendor, it smells so good. But when you bite, you're still looking for the fish. It's bare fish essence. So it looks good, it smells good, everything, but you can only tell by actually biting. But by then it's too late. You already paid one for your fish cake. Right? I say anything with the scam. And they're always fishy. Scams are always fishy. Look at them carefully, something not quite right. Right. So I now want to go into a relatively new area called social engineering, which people don't know a lot about. And social engineering is primarily a psychology-based manipulation of people. And it's done via computers usually to get something. The schemes can be quite elaborate, but basically you're tricking somebody, you're willing to spend time to trick somebody because you're going to get something at the end. So you may use social engineering. Well, they always start by, they look for target and they get information on the target. So they try to find out as much as they can about you. They try to look at your Facebook profile. They might send you an email asking for some sort of information. They might send you a bogus job offer and say, you know, you need to complete this information to get this job. But they start by trying to collect information on you. When they have enough information on you, they know how to trick you. They know your strengths, or some of them, they know some of your weaknesses, they know your desires, they know your problems. So then they can craft a really nice story about you and to gain your trust. Once they've gained your trust, then is when they can hit you. We've seen this in the Caribbean where people would on social media would send friend requests, set up a fake profile, say set up a profile of, you know, I'm a 50-year-old male, I'm a widower, lots of money. And then they target a lady. And over the months, they're talking to her every day, every other day on social media, and they're asking questions. They're asking questions not because they care, but because they want to find out about her. When they find the weaknesses, then they know how to create their scam. They know what story to look for. They realize, oh, the lady is lonely. I'm going to pretend I'm in love with her. Or she has these bills, you know, someone in the family is very ill. I'm going to pretend that I can offer her money. or she's been unemployed for 2 years and she wants to get out, I'm going to pretend that I can get her a work permit in England. So after they have the information, then they hit you with this story. And as part of the story is like, I'm going to send you a check for $10,000 to help you out. Then you get email the next day, I made a mistake with the check. You need to send me back $2,000. They give you wire details, you wire back $2,000. A few days later, bank calls and say, that check for $10,000, it bunks. You owe to $2,000. So that is what social engineering is about. They spend time and they come up with this story that is believable, and then they get you. So how do we get caught with these things? We get caught because sometimes we're desperate. We're in a hard place. And this story sees appealing to us. Sometimes we're desperate for a job. And at this time of COVID, a lot of people have lost their jobs. You see a lot of social engineering scams. Sometimes we're lonely. And we're glad that God has finally sent somebody that, they have all the qualities that we were looking for. Sometimes it's just we don't understand the technology enough so that they can trick us. Or sometimes it's just they know so much about us from their investigation that they can trick us. Or they pretend to be associated with a reputable company. So who are these people targeting adults with social engineering? Well, they're industrial spies. They're companies who might know that you work at a company that I want to get information on, so they target this. Sometimes it's political groups, like y'all might have heard of Cambridge Analytica, which helped the US government in 2016. Well, but help a US party, supposedly. Also help some parties in the Caribbean. Sometimes it's just a hacker that wants to get to your employer via you. Sometimes it's just somebody who's greedy, they just want money. Human traffickers use it. Sometimes they want to lure you away from your country so that they can put you in slavery. Sometimes it's terrorist organizations. I used to work with a lady who was targeted by ISIS, and she was actually taking them seriously, and her husband had to have a stern talk with her. But they do these things, they know how to appeal to you after they've studied you, and then they can get you. All right, so I just want to touch on some of the common scams. How am I doing for time, by the way? Okay, we're going okay. Now, there's the Nigerian scam. There's a common one where people are actually sending messages, pretending to have all this money they can move out to their country, and they would give you a cut if they help you. You actually had something like that targeting some CARICOM leaders about a week ago, where these criminals actually were sending messages to prime ministers and things trying to trick them. There's the romance scam, where they pretend to be in love with you, and at some point they're going to ask you for a loan, or as they say, to send back money from a check that's going to bounce. There's the lawyer scam. They've been targeting lawyers in the Caribbean with this, where the lawyer feels so good that this big company wants them to represent them for a case in Barbados. And again, they send checks which take 30 days to clear. And they tell the lawyer, oh, you need to send me back this portion. The lawyer sends it, and then the check never clears. There's the mystery shopper scam, where they actually try to get you to do, say, oh, we're going to give you this money to do some shopping, and then they send back. Again, it's not a real thing. Sextortion. This normally targets young people, but also some older ones, where they try to create like a fake profile, pretend to be your friend, pretend to love you, and then tell you, oh, I need you to send me some nude pictures. Well, you can't send me a picture thing with this thing. You foolishly send it. Next thing you know, you're being blackmailed. I'm going to send this picture to all your friends if you don't send me $1,000. There's the lottery scam, which are Jamaican. People are very good at targeting Canadians with, and American citizens, where they tell you, oh, you've won the lottery, but to release the funds, you need to send X amount of money. There's a gift card scam. This is done, I've seen it being done via WhatsApp, where they tell, but they're gonna need you to buy this gift card. There's the IT help desk scam where people call and pretend to be IT people will help you with your computer, but to help you, they need your password, they need you to do this, and they're just trying to get into your computer. So these are some of the common scams that you need to be aware of, right? And people do it because they basically help. They work. That's why people do scams. They work. They've been very successful over the years. So basic steps to protect yourself. The first thing to do is always use a strong password. A strong password is basically a password that is hard for anybody to guess, even if they're using a computer. The next thing is never use your password on more than one system. If this is your password for Facebook, don't use it for email. Don't use it to log in at work. Don't use it on Amazon. Because what people do is when they steal a password from one thing, they try it on all your systems. Because research has shown that people tend to use the same password in one place. So if I get your Facebook password, that may be the password that I can get in your email or your Amazon. And then we do not share passwords. We don't give it to our spouses, our children, our cousins, password, ATM pins, whatever. They're not to be shared. This should be private. Next thing is don't put a lot of unnecessary information online. No one needs to know everything that you do. You don't need to take a picture of everything and describe every single thing. You don't need to tell somebody, my whole family is leaving for vacation in Florida next week. Thieves love to hear that sort of thing. So don't put too much online. And be careful of telephones. They use the telephone as well. People call up pretending to be certain things and they want information from you and you go and you give them. Some other things you do, use multi-factor authentication. I know a lot of people not familiar with that. What that means is that in addition to your password, you need something else to get in the system. Maybe they send a code to your phone. They might give you a little device, that number comes up, but some systems offer multi-factor authentication. I think Gmail and now Facebook and things. It's time to research. If multi-factor authentication is available, use it. Because it means that if someone gets your password, they still need your phone or something else to get in. So that's something that you should do. I know I always ask people, why are you asking for all this information? You know, I'm asking for simple things. You want to know about my address. You want to know about the name of my spouse. You want to know about my salary. You know, you want my ID number. And for what? The service you say you're giving me, it's not necessary. So why? Ask yourself why. Next thing, if an offer sounds too good to be true, chances are it isn't. So stay away. And when it comes to strangers offering you money, even if you think you know them by Facebook, if you've never met them, if you can't verify that that's really a 45-year-old man from Washington or wherever, be very careful and watch out for all these quizzes and things that they send you, these exciting quizzes on Facebook and other things that want all this personal information. And then avoid free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi means basically anyone can be connected to that Wi-Fi. Anyone can be listening on that information. If you want to go on free Wi-Fi, do something, you just want to Google something, yeah. But don't do online banking on free Wi-Fi. Don't do anything where sensitive information is used. There's some protections that you can use, but in general, avoid free Wi-Fi for anything serious. Now, just want to cover some password basics because it's probably about strong password. So here it is. Make sure if the system can use passwords, that passwords are turned on. A strong password is a password at least 8 characters long. Now people are saying it should be at least 10 characters long. And you want it to have uppercase, which is capital letters, lowercase, comma letters, and numerals, 0 to 9. Put all those things in it, and basically you have a strong password. It's hard for people to guess even using a computer. And your password should always be so hard to guess. It should never be your name, the name of your daughter, the name of your car, your telephone number. Those don't work. And as I said, make it unique. Don't use one password on all the rest. Now I want to show you all some passwords that people actually use a lot. People use QWERTY, which is the first 5 letters on the keyboard. We use QWERTY 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Password. These are actual common passwords that people all over the world use. And the hackers know them. They can guess it in under 2 seconds. So if you have this as your password or anything, when you go home, please change it. Now, I just want to give you an idea about creating a strong password. Get a phrase that you can remember, because now you talk about using phrases instead of passwords. So you get a phrase, conkeys must have reasons. That's an easy phrase to remember, and it's also very true. Then you can take out the spaces out of it, and you end up with that long word. You can shorten it if say that's too long, say, okay, I want it to be 16 characters, and you cover it with that word. And then you can switch between letters and numbers like 0 and O, 1 and I, 3 and E. And you end up meeting all the requirements basically for a strong password. So you end up with this password at the bottom. C0NK13$MU$TH@V3R. No one in the world will ever guess that password. But you can remember it because you're thinking conkeys must have reasons. Right? So you can use any variation on that, but there's just one of the ways that you can have that. So in terms of a password, these are 3. If you want to remember 3 things about passwords, remember this. Treat a password like your toothbrush. Don't leave it lying around. Don't let nobody else use it, and change it after a while. All right, don't keep it for a year. So, passwords. But I just want to touch on some best practices for online shopping and online banking. In terms of online shopping, check that you have the correct website. Check that somebody didn't change the 0 Amazon to O. So you check the spelling. Make sure it's encrypted. That means instead of saying the HTTP in the address, it should say HTTPS, or it should have a lock symbol that shows that it's using some security on the website. And don't go and use anything for online shopping that you never heard about. Don't just say ad for something and say, let me go and buy stuff from it. Do a little research. If possible, the credit card that you use for online banking, if you have more than one, get a credit card with a low limit, just to be safe. So even if you steal all the money, you limit how much they steal from you. And be careful of the computer. There's software, malware, which tries to steal like banking stuff. And you get malware often from going to all our sites, playing all our games, downloading a lot of illegal stuff. The things that children do. And a computer that child uses a lot is likely to have a lot of malware on it. So if you can have one computer, say that's where I do my online banking and shopping from. Not the one that the children play all the games on, because you don't know what is on that. And they don't know either. So online banking, when you get something saying there's a problem with your bank account, click this link, never click the link. Go and use how you normally get into your bank, because it could be a fraudster. If somebody tells you wire money to me, at this number, please verify with them. Give a phone call. It is really the number that I have to wire to, because people get tricked. You know, someone in Barbados, they got tricked, wired it to the wrong place and ended up sending $2 million to heaven knows who. And obviously they still owe the real person $2 million. So verify that. And don't give anybody your banking email, your banking ID and number. Again, like your password, keep it secret. Keep it secret. That is private for you. It's very important. Check your bank statements regularly. When they send the print statements, look at them. Checking online is not good, because there's actually software that will modify the online screen to show you what you should be getting. So trust the paper. Even if you got to pay $1, $5 a month, get the paper statements. And as I said, try to avoid using computers that children use. So I just want to summarize some of the things we did. Cybersecurity is just about keeping data safe. And cybercrime is just an activity that uses a computer or attacks a computer. And then simple things we do is like using secure passwords, using computers that the children don't play with, avoiding free Wi-Fi, and then the devices like VPNs and firewalls. We didn't really touch on those, but those are basic things that use to help make the thing secure. But one of the most important things is common sense. Look at the thing. Does it make sense? Is it reasonable? Does this sound true? Can they check that? Our common sense is one of the best ways to avoid scams. Take time and think about it. Ask somebody if you need to, but don't rush anything. Just our common sense, one of the best things. So that is it. I'd like to thank all you for taking the time to listen. I'm hoping that I was able to impart a little bit of knowledge and that you know a bit more about what's out there and you have some idea about how you can be safe. We've created a flyer, a handout with just some tips that you can take away. Don't expect to remember everything I said. I wouldn't expect you to take notes, but we have a tip sheet which is going to give you something that you can look at to help refresh you, and you can share it with your friends and family. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Okay. We'll have some questions at this time. And the president will lead us also. If people online say.
Good morning, Mr. Giddens.
Morning.
Thank you. It was a pleasure sitting and learning from you. And it was a very enlightening session. There are two things I want you to expand if time allows on. One is the very often I see on Facebook, and I try to deter people from doing it, but you touch on it briefly. But where people come on the page and they ask like your favorite color, your favorite what car you drive, and in like a quiz form. And I would want you, if it's possible, to elaborate on it, because I don't think a lot of people truly believe that they're being, that's the opening. They're opening to be scammed, and they go on and tell them what the favorite color and what's the favorite meal and that kind of thing. One. And the other one is, again, if possible, I don't accept these memes with good morning, God is good. And because I have been told that that again is a way people that these scammers use to get into your system. I don't know. If you want to tell me that God is good, I don't mind you writing it. But I have a difficulty with these memes and people pulling them up from all over the place. So for all of us, for my own clarification, if you can touch on that, because I know people meet you today in a professional capacity, and by the next morning they're sending you something, God is good, good morning, and this and that. That and the one on the Facebook. Thank you so much again, David.
Do not usually get or seek to get all the information at one time. You get it drip, you compile it, and then you have a picture. So they might get some information by looking at social media. They might get some by sending a quiz. They might get some by giving you a fake interview. So they compile different pieces until they have a great picture. So sometimes you say, but the information that they ask me, not really much. But when they combine it, that's when they get you. So if there's no reason to do the quiz, you see the quiz start asking personal things, stay away from it. There's a movie, can't remember the name of these musicians, where they were trying to get this guy, and they were asking him about his childhood dog, if he had a dog, and what his favorite uncle and thing. And he innocently gave them At the end of the show, they told him, we just stole like $72 million from your account. And he was like, how you did that? He had like his dog's name as a password or something. But so when they pretended to be innocently asking him about his childhood and things, they were trying to say what might some of his passwords be. So normally with social engineering, they take long, they might do it over 6 months, and they just want to get information piece by piece. So I avoid the quizzes, especially if anything in it sounds too personal or unnecessary. Nobody needs to know your favorite color and all that sort of thing, right? The other question in terms of them sending the things, normally if someone sends something to you and you don't click on it, you don't click a link in it, normally like 99% of the times it's safe, right? So people, it's annoying when every morning you get all this thing like pictures and things. It is annoying, but it's usually safe once you don't click anything on it. Yeah.
Just to inform those persons who are online, they can send their questions through Zoom. We'll monitor the questions and pass them on to David. Any other questions from persons here? Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
And thanks again for very useful information. There's just one thing I wanted to find out regarding sometimes a notice that comes up when you're trying to get on a site. A notice comes up that says accept cookies. I always click on it because unless you click on it, you can't go any further. So how dangerous is that or not, or what exactly does that mean?
All right, I saw a little meme on that where somebody showed you a picture of a door that had a glass window in it, big glass window there. And when you look through the window, you see a toilet seat. And the name of the thing was accept cookies. And basically that is what you do, what you're risking doing when you accept all cookies. It's like a bathroom where people can actually look in and see you. Now, what happens, and they're being deceptive, huh? They having big, bold, accept all cookies. But if you look carefully, there's usually something with cookie settings or we can choose something else. They want you to choose accept cookies because they want you to give them access to everything. So anytime you see accept cookies, look carefully on the screen. Somewhere they might have it so it's not very obvious. It may be in a lighter font, a smaller font, but there's usually an option where you select which cookies you accept. Now, a cookie is basically like a real cookie. It can hurt you, even though it seems good. But a cookie is basically a small piece of code that stores information about you. So when you go back to your website, it doesn't have to ask you again, what's your name, which country you're from, whatever. They will store those things in the cookie, and then it's easier for you. So it makes it an easier experience. You don't need to keep giving them the same information. But there's some cookies that are unnecessary cookies that are gonna put something on your system to say track you. So it says your phone you're using, you do accept all cookies and they have a tracking cookie. And everywhere you go, they can then say, oh yeah, this person goes to this place. And what they do, if they don't use the information themselves, they sell it. The company that will sell things to find out, okay, want to know how many people go to this type of store. Like there's a recent case that came out like last week where a coffee company was putting tracking cookies on your thing so that they could see if you're going to their competitors. So they're tracking and they know where you're shopping. So they use it often for not good reasons. Basically, a cookie is good because it makes life easier. Because you want them to remember your name. I remember I'm from Barbados, I'm dealing with Barbadian currency. I remember maybe like, when I go on to Amazon, I like to look at shoes and books or whatever. So it's good, but you don't want to do the select all. Look for the option to determine which cookies you want.
There's a question from someone online. What can be done to safeguard the Visa debits from fraudulent activity?
Well, a Visa debit is like an ordinary Visa card. Now, before 2 or 3 years ago when Barbados didn't really have Visa debits, we just had the carrier's card. Now with the ATM card, you get the ATM skimmers and they try to read the magnetic strip which has the information, and they can create a fake card and use it. When it was only carriers, we were safe because they can only use it in Barbados. A carrier's card going to be used in Barbados. Visa debit is a lot more dangerous because you can use it anywhere in the world that Visa is accepted. So Trinidad would have had a case about 3 years ago where people skimmed some ATM cards in Trinidad. They were using Visas, either Visa or MasterCard. Then the people made cards in New York and stole the money in New York from New York ATMs. Now, obviously, the Royal Trinidad and Tobago thing, they don't have any jurisdiction in New York, and they're not necessarily going to want to spend money to go thing. So with the Visa card, the danger is that the thieves don't have to steal the money in Barbados. So you need to be a little more careful, but the ways to be careful with that and any other credit card is being careful of like not letting anyone know your PIN, making sure you're putting it into a valid machine. Look at the machine if anything's strange or walk away. Be careful who you give your credit card or Visa card number to. Those are the basic things. The banks do a lot to try to safeguard it, but if you let people get your PIN number or swipe your card, the bank can't do that much about it. They can do some, but not that much.
Other question, cookies allow the sites to send ads. How can you avoid this?
All right, there's different types of cookies. So when you're looking at the different types, they might have like advertising cookies and things. So like we may would turn off advertising cookies if they give me an option. If you don't get the option, well, that's a problem. But basically look at all the cookie options. Don't just quickly do accept all. Look at the options to see what you can turn off or turn on.
Thank you so much for all of your enlightening information. The issue for us, I think, is that we're dealing with senior citizens. And I want to ask you some questions specifically on passwords. That is the bane of the existence of most seniors. Everywhere you go, you have to be told, use a different password. How are you going to remember them? You're told, don't write them anywhere where anybody can find them. Keep them safe. Mm-hmm. Usually when they're safe, you can't find them, or they are somewhere where you are not when you need them. Then you go on websites, and some of the websites say, do you wish me to remember this password? I always say no.
Me too.
Because I don't know, that it is safe. But how does our demographic work out a system where if we have to have multiple passwords, we can retain them safely?
Okay. All right. There's software called password managers. It's software on your computer. Basically, that's store your passwords for you, and you don't need to keep them in your head. Now, that is protected by what you call a master password, which will be the only password you need to remember. Once you remember the master password, you don't need to remember all the other passwords. But of course, if you forget it, well, that's the end of you. So you make sure that you can remember that master password. That's one advantage. But again, the password manager, they may need someone to help you to set it. It may take a little time to get it set up, but if you get it working, that's one way. Another way, I know for years we've always preached, don't write down your passwords, but being practical, I would tell people, if you write it in code, write it so if anybody stumbling across, don't know what it is, and write it where no one will come across it. Sometimes people write their passwords on a piece of sticky tape and put it at the bottom of their keyboard, at the bottom of their laptop, even on their monitor, inside their monitor. Don't do that. If you must write a password down, write it where no one is going to find it, and write it so they wouldn't know. And suppose your password is a 7-letter password, or 8, but it should be at least 8. But if it's 7, you can maybe add some digits to the front, to the back. Or suppose your password is, say, 7 numbers, so that's a bad password. But if you did have that password, after the first 3 numbers, put a dash and somebody think it's a 4 number. But code it somehow. if you must write it so that anyone stumbling across it will not know what it is. Right. So I used to just tell people never write it down, but being practical, sometimes you need to write it down, but write it down in a way that no one would know and that no one can stumble across it.
Is there a danger with companies asking for statements to be sent online?
Yes, there is. Some banks actually wouldn't let you, electronically send out things with account numbers and things. There is a danger. What a company should do, if they have a website and they say, well, upload it, that is relatively safe if it goes directly to the website. If they tell you send it by email, that is not, because as they said, email by default is not safe. If someone wants you to send something like that online, there's software called encryption software, things like WinZip, 7-Zip, which can encrypt it with a password, and you then have to call that person and say, "This is the password to open the file." So you can email it to them and then say, "Call me for the password." That is safe, but don't just put it in the email and send that confidential information. It's too easy for criminals to get it when you do that.
If you have accepted all cookies, is there a way to adjust the settings?
I think on some websites there are. You may need to play around with the website, but I believe in some cases you can change your cookie settings. I don't think it's permanent. But again, you need to spend time to look around for it.
If you give someone your Amazon password to up a Fire Stick, can they use your account?
Password?
Amazon password to up a Fire Stick. To set up a Fire Stick, can they use your account?
Once they know their username and password, they can use your account. The only way they can't is if you're using multi-factor authentication, in which case they need your phone or wherever it will send a code to. If you're not using multi-factor authentication, once they have their username and password, they can log in as you. And you'll be liable because if you read the fine print, the law will tell you do not share your password.
What is the difference between the username and the password?
The username is just a name, and you don't need to keep that secret. The username your username might be, say, Doris B, Doris 246. The password is the part that has to be secret. The password is what you don't tell anyone, right? The password is what is really gonna get you in with it. You need both of them to get in, both username and password, but only the password is what you have to keep secret.
So are you saying then that the username is the same as your
However, what is normally done today, they often tell you to use an email account as your username, the name of your email.
Wanted to ask, the email address is the same as the username? Then
It doesn't mean the same thing, but what people have started doing is telling you, instead of trying to make a unique username, just use your email address, because every email address in the world is unique. Two people cannot have the same thing. So to make it easier, they started telling you, use your email,
so
the name of your email
so
address.
whenever you see, when you request it to put in the username, you can put in the email address.
No, it depends on if that is what you set up.
Oh,
Right? But a lot of, to make it easier, people know, they say use an email account as your username, but it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Some companies ask you to upload personal documents via IDPAL. Is this safe?
Via what's the name of the tool?
IDPAL.
I'm not familiar with it, but usually if they ask you to do an upload via website, as long as the website is encrypted, which it has HTTPS or locked, you can be fairly you can be fairly sure that it's safe. Right, uploading directly to a secure website is generally safe as a rule. So you don't really worry about that. If the website isn't encrypted, it doesn't have the HTTPS, then you don't want to do it for sure. Or if they tell you send it by email, nah.
Just to be clear, though, can you tell them where to find the HTTPS? Where they will see that?
Yeah. When you open your browser, which should be like Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, Safari, whatever you're using, it's usually on the top right-hand side of the screen. It would start with the letters HTTP, and then there'd be maybe a slash, and then a whole thing, and then may end like Amazon.com.
Is there a way to remove cookies from the computer?
Sorry. The left side of the screen, not the right. Thank you.
Is there a way to remove cookies from the computer?
Yeah, there are different tools that can actually, different security tools that can do it. Some of the common antivirus tools and something, you can try to remove cookies.
Any further questions online or the audience? Anybody else have a question? All right, we'll ask Benita.
Lady here.
Sorry.
If you lose some of these devices, like a tablet and cell phones, what are the dangers that you could become responsible for anything that is done on those gadgets going forward? I've lost between September 1st last year and December 15th, I lost 4 different devices.
Mm-hmm.
One was stolen from the house. The other 3, I believe on 2 other occasions, I left them accidentally in taxis.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to take things out the bag, and rest them on the car seat and paying the taxi driver, and then it just went.
Yeah.
So to be truthful, I have been reluctant to purchase anything else since then because 2 of those things were new brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I can replace them, but so far I haven't got this urgent urge to go and do it again. But I know I have to.
Yeah.
I want to know. I reported the first one to the police. They came, they made errors in the reports. I wanted me to admit to things times and amounts, and because cash was also stolen on that occasion. And they were telling me I had to have a wrong figure, and I had to, and they were asking me things that I wouldn't even really understand about the phone because it had a special number. I afterwards found the original box, and I was able to, but the long and short of it is that they had my name wrong. They came back, they corrected that. Then they came with incorrect information, which I did not say to them. And they brought it back and tell me they had it on the laptop, and they were coming back for me to sign it. And that day has not come yet. So I forgot about that. I went and bought a new one. And unfortunately, that one I left in the taxi. So I want to know now, when I get my new devices, how the place where I bought it said that after a certain amount of months, that number is obsolete. You won't be able to use the previous number.
Okay.
But what would be my responsibility if later down the road, somebody knocks on my door to tell me that such and such a thing was done, some crime was committed on either of those numbers? What would be my responsibility, or would I can be
Something like that. You were correct to report it. The next thing is, suppose you were worried about your email or whatever, you can contact the people that you can contact Facebook, can contact Gmail, whoever, and say, I need this change. Someone has stolen my device. As long as you make those reports, in the unlikely event that someone does something using it and claims it to be you, you can easily prove I reported this stolen at this date, or I notified this company that I needed them to change the password on my Gmail or whatever. So I wouldn't worry about it. Once you do the reporting, you're basically safe.
Would you advise the person in this situation to start with a new email address altogether, different from the ones, because I tried to use the same one for donkey's years, so that I wouldn't have to remember things new. But my relative, my brother, is telling me that I should. He thinks I should get a new number, a new address altogether, new email.
It depends on how long it was gone. Suppose someone has stolen it for a month ago and you haven't done anything yet. It'd be safer to get a new one. If it's something that happened and you quickly notified the email company and got your email changed, then I wouldn't go to the trouble of changing an email address, especially one that been using for 10, 20 years. Yeah, so it depends on how soon you actioned it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Is there a way to track a lost device? Somebody's asking that online. Is there a way to track a lost device? If you have a lost device, is there a way you can get it tracked?
Yeah, there's software. Sometimes like a phone would come with it, come to software to locate it. It's a matter of you activating that program. And as long as your device can be seen on the internet, it would be tracked. It's just a matter of taking the time to set it up, like when you get a new device. But yeah, there are lots of ways to track mobile devices like phones and tablets. Yeah. No, but it would be you to set it up so that you can do the tracking. Yeah.
So I just want to talk about the online banking. Online banking, right? No banking, online. Where you're making transactions with other companies, right? That they ask you for your credit card at the back. You have 3 digits. So every time you get into a business, a transaction, you have to enter the 3 digits. How safe is that?
Relatively. The rules in terms of credit cards is that organizations are not allowed to store those 3 digits. They can store your credit card number, they can store your name, they're never to store the 3 digits. The theory is if you have the 3 digits, that means the card is physically in your hand, you're the real owner. That's basically what it means. So when I set up my banking system, I can take transactions from people can buy things from anything online. My system will be programmed not to store those 3 digits. So the only one who should know those 3 digits should be the owner of the card. So that's what it's all about.
Can tracking software be added if it is not installed when you buy the device?
Yeah, there are tons of that sort of software. Yeah, there are tons of it out there.
Any that you would want to recommend?
I generally don't like to recommend in these forums. Okay. What I say is do your research. You can use Google to do research, see how many people have used it, see what reviews. That's the safest thing. Do your research before buying anything that you're not familiar with.
You're doing very well for time. So at this point, if there are no further questions, there are no other questions online, there are no other questions here. we will have Mrs. Bonita Bayer to do the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Madam President, Chair of the Charitable Trust, it is my privilege on behalf of the BARP Charitable Trust to express gratitude to those persons who made this event possible. Mr. David Giddens, our presenter, you willingly agreed to conduct this seminar. In this era of online existence, this session was timely and informative. We are now more aware of how to use our electronic devices, where not to use our devices, and perhaps most importantly, to be extremely selective in whom we trust with our secure, sensitive, and confidential data. Reverend Clayton Springer and the congregation of Wesley Holiness Church, Welches, thank you for allowing the trustees the use of your church to host this seminar, being very flexible in accommodating us, and giving access to the required resources. Reverend Springer, we thank you as well for your opening remarks and prayers, your kind welcome, and the brief remarks in which you outlined the work of the trust. Mr. Glenroy Kamabach, who graciously introduced the facilitator, assuring us that he was fully qualified to perform the task. Mr. Kamabach also performed the role of moderator, ensuring that the proceedings ran smoothly. We thank the Barbados Union of Teachers who offered the use of their premises should we have required additional parking space. Ms. Springer and the other volunteers, thanks for your assistance. You willingly stepped in as needed. Our technical team, Mr. Sean Mears and Mr. Ramel Lewis, we thank you for your expertise, not only on site, but also streaming the seminar to our at-home audience. We express thanks to the print and electronic media who assisted with the promotion and coverage of the event. To the President, Board of Directors, and members of the Barbados Association of Retired Persons, we thank you for your immense support, guidance, and expertise in facilitating our numerous requests. Special recognition to Ms. Sharon Marshall, who was an invaluable resource. A special thank you to our audience who either joined us physically or signed in with secure passwords as virtual guests. I extend gratitude to the chair, trustees, and volunteers of the BARP Charitable Trust, and to all persons who would have contributed in any way to the successful hosting of this seminar. Thank you.
Finally, David, on behalf of the BARP Charitable Trust, thank you so much for so willingly and readily giving up your time. This is a small memento of appreciation for a truly informative and useful seminar.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay. Glory to God.